meh, 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 meh.
Everybody trying to be content creators and trying to
Go
go
viral.
viral. You want to go viral?
Okay, you want to go viral? Let's go viral then.
Say less.
Let go.
Let's embrace it. Let's love it. Let's enjoy it. And let's give them the experience of their life. That's Roswell for you, baby. Come together. And guys, this is Speaking Out Loud. I appreciate you guys joining us. Don't forget to share and dance like you just don't care. It's early in the morning. Let's have a day. And like I said, be a friend. Tell a friend something nice. It might change their life. Shout out PMS.
Good morning and welcome to Speaking Out Loud. I am your host, Rene Ruiz. And today, joining me in for Mr. John Borba. Joining me for the show will be our Packer enthusiast, our Packer insider, Mr. Earl Robinson. E-Rob, what's up, brother?
What's up? Good morning. Good morning.
I only have you for so long, so let's get straight to it. NFL Week 13 is kicking off this week. And for Thanksgiving, we have the Lions hosting the Green Bay Packers. Right after that, we get the lovely Cowboys against the Kansas City Chiefs in Jerry's World. And then to end the night, we'll have the Bengals against the Baltimore Ravens. And that game all of a sudden turned into a game. E-Rob, it looks like Joe Burrow will make his debut after his turf toe surgery. So that's going to be interesting because there's still playoff implications in that game. But we'll just get started right away. Let's get into Week 13 and let's talk Packers and Lions. I sent you a little bit of homework yesterday. I said, hey, Errol, what are the key factors for the Packers and for the Detroit Lions to win these games? Give me a little bit on both sides. Don't be biased just for the Packers because I know you do have that jersey on. If you back up just a little bit, you'll see that beautiful J Love. That means that Earl Robinson has a lot of hope. For him to have bought a jersey of Jordan Love, when you buy a jersey of a player, that typically tells me that you have nothing. You have all the belief in the world in this person that they're probably going to be there for about 5 years minimum, right? That's at least the expectation when you buy a jersey of a certain player.
Well, when we paid him $50 million a year for 4 years, I figure that's the sign to buy now.
Yeah, that'd be if you believe. All right, I'm going to buy in as well. Beautiful. E-Rob, I'm going to probably call you JB a couple of times, so I do apologize right now. It's habit, right? That's the person I talk to every day, but I appreciate you joining me, E-Rob. What do you have for me? What's the key factors for this Green Bay Packers team on Thursday?
Yeah. Before we get into key factors, let's touch on just a couple high level statements. So,
Okay.
Jordan Love, this surprised me. I know we talked earlier in the week. I said I hate playing Detroit on Thanksgiving in Detroit. It seems like we've got to play that game every year. It's not that I mind playing Detroit. It's that it's always a road game. We always have to go to Detroit, right? And it's a big primetime game. So I was surprised when I looked last night. Jordan Love has played. This is his third year starting, right? So he's played 2 Thanksgivings. This will be his third one. First 2 in Detroit, won both games. So that's optimistic. He's 2-0 on Thanksgiving against the Lions on the road. That's part of the reason I got his jersey on. We'll talk about the key factors, but I think Love has to play well for us to win. The other thing that I think is worth talking about quickly is just a couple key injuries. So on the Packers side, right, last week we held out Josh Jacobs, and he's our running back, as most people know, and then Quay Walker, our middle linebacker, who's played really well. He got banged up 2 weeks ago, so he also did not play last week. Both of them have been limited this week. Hopefully, both of them can go because they're both going to be keys to the Packers winning with running the ball and being able to stop the run. Additionally, we might get Jaden Reed back, another target who is probably our receiver 2, maybe receiver 1 arguments coming into the season. He might be coming back. And then a key injury to watch out for last week is our cornerback. Nixon got injured, so we'll see if he can play. I think on the Lions side, they're relatively healthy, meaning that they didn't lose anybody last week. That's kind of had them last week, not going to have them this week. But I think one big key injury for the Lions is Sam Laporta's on IR. I think that's been 2 weeks now. And, they put up a lot of points against the Giants last week. But it'll be interesting to see the Lions going forward because they like to run the ball. play action, and Laporta's been that guy that Goff could trust over the middle of the field. So I think that'll be a big loss for the Lions going forward.
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't agree with you more there.
All right, so let's talk about the 3 keys to success. Are you gonna pull that chart up?
Go for it right now. Let's see. Here we go. Let's start off with your Packers here, or do you want to start with Detroit? It's up to you.
Uh, no, let's start with the Packers.
All right, let's do it.
All right, so I think it comes down to stopping the run against the Lions, like I just talked about with Laporta. Right, they want to pound the ball, they want to run the ball right at you, and then they want to play action over the top, and that leads to a lot of big explosive plays for them. So I think the key metric everybody has talked about historically is 100-yard rushers. 100-yard rushers, right? So I think we've got to hold the Lions under 100 yards rushing and make Goff throw the ball, which they've got lots of weapons, right? Jamison Williams, St. Brown, lots of weapons for Goff to throw to. But I think we've got to be able to rush the passer, right? And if you can stop the run and just kind of pin your ears back and rush the passer, that helps you get pressure on Goff. And I think that'll help force some inaccurate throws, which leads into the second point, right, on that chart on the Packers side.
Yep.
Is 3+ sacks is what I want to see. So the Packers are undefeated in games this year when we sack the opposing quarterback 3 times or more. I
3-0.
No, I think might be even like 4-0.
When getting more than 3 sacks, the Packers. So their investment. We invested in someone that can actually make that happen. So you're telling me you're putting a lot of pressure on Micah Parsons to get that defensive line moving, and getting 3+ sacks to get this victory. I like that. I like the way that sounds. And it's very possible. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Keep going.
No, you're good. And Micah Parsons is key, right? We got to move him around. He's going to draw a lot of double teams. But even more key than Parsons to me, like Parsons and Sewell, the Lions have 2 great tackles. It's their 3 interior offensive linemen. If you go back to week 1, which was a long time ago now, but they're 3 interior offensive linemen where I think our defensive line got the most pressure in week 1. Those guys have gotten a lot better since week 1. So have we, but it'll be interesting to see who other than Parsons, especially in the interior of the defensive line, can get some instant pressure right in Goff's face.
Yeah, we got to get to Goff. Santiago here said you got to stop Gibbs and force at least 1 turnover to win against the Lions. I'm assuming that because if you get 3 sacks, you're going to make the assumption that Jared Goff is probably going to make a mistake. So I think that comes hand in hand with your statement. But let's go ahead on and go into the Lions side of this, and let's put on the Detroit Lions fans hat. And I know you won't put on that hat, but put it on for me at least halfway for a second to give us what are the key factors for the Detroit Lions as they roar themselves to victory against this Packers team.
Yeah, I mean, the very first point, I'm going to go inverse of what I said for Green Bay. I'm going to say they've got to run the ball. They average 140 yards on the ground between Gibbs and Montgomery. Gibbs has had a stellar season, couple big games lately, but don't forget about Montgomery. He can run between the tackles. He's quicker than people give him credit for. So a 2-headed monster there, right? They like to pound the rock, and it sets up the rest of their offense. So they've got to run the ball. And I looked up the statistic that in each of their 4 losses, Jahmyr Gibbs was held under 60 yards on the ground. So I think there's kind of a target, right? And some of that's going to be who gets the bulk of the rush attempts. But
Yeah.
it was interesting that in each of their losses, he had less than 60 yards rushing.
Interesting. Jahmyr Gibbs
The
under
next
60
2,
yards.
right? Scoring 28 points, 28 or more points, and big chunk plays. So Lions, we know they have an explosive offense, right? We've talked about Gibbs, we've talked about St. Brown, Jamison Williams. So the Lions average almost 30 points a game, and in their wins, only 1 time did they score less than 34 points. and that was against the Bucks. They scored 20. They beat them 24-9. So they pretty much controlled the game, right? Probably weren't trying to put up points. But so
Yeah.
let's go back. In only one of their wins did they score less than 34. That is a lot of points to put up, right? Week in and week out. So that's why I think, if you're scoring 34 points, you're getting some chunk plays just based on how many possessions in a football game you get.
Yeah.
You're going to have to get some chunk plays, and that leads to offensive explosion, kind of the third point here. So I think the Lions, they've got to win this game offensively. So their defense is okay, but they want to put up points, get a lead, and get after the quarterback with Hutchinson, rush the passer, not let Josh Jacobs run the ball 20-25 times.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. This is Aaron. Another comment here for us. Evan Williams will have a big game against the Lions. How do you feel for that statement that's being made?
Yeah, Evan Williams he's played great this year. Week 1, he had a key interception against Goff that stopped a drive, I think, right before halftime. So he's been a big player for us on the defense. He's got to make sure and stay in his running lanes. There's been a couple times where he's come up and picked the wrong gap in run support, which led to a big play. But overall, he's played phenomenal.
Yeah, E-Rob, let me read you a couple matchup insights from Next Gen Stat, and then you can give me a reaction as to I read all these. I'm going to read 4 of them. We're going to start off with Christian Watson. Christian Watson was targeted on 13 of his 20 routes and totaled 6 receptions for 132 yards when facing man coverage across 2 meetings with the Lions last season, 65% target rate. Since Jordan Love took over as the full-time roster in 2023, Watson has been targeted on 48.6% of his routes against the Lions, man coverage, 18 of 37, over a span of 4 combined meetings compared to just 26.5% of his routes when facing any other opponent. Following Tucker Kraft's injury in Week 9, Watson has accounted for a team-high 27.3 target shares against man coverage, while leading the team in receptions with 5 for 65 yards and 2 touchdowns during that span. Christian Watson's got to be a key factor for that offense here for the Green Bay Packers. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, I would agree with that statement. Watson, I mean, everybody sees Dobbs get a lot of the target share as well because Watson was out for the whole, first 10 games or whatever it was this
Yeah.
season. But I do think Watson stretches the field. I think he's maybe a little bit more consistent of a go-to for Love when both Dobbs and Watson are on the field together. Um, but ultimately, like just looking at all of our receivers, we have enough above average talent at receivers to win against the
Yeah.
man coverage that I think Detroit will play. They're probably going to blitz and play man. So I think our receivers can win, but they've got to catch the ball and not drop it. We've continued to have struggles with drops this year.
Oh, do we know a little something about drop passes? What a frustrating thing to think about, which I will get into here in about 15 or 20 minutes. We'll dig into the Ceedee Lamb response, the Ceedee Lamb interview that he had just yesterday. There's a lot of criticism facing Ceedee Lamb in drop passes right now. He leads the league, I believe, with 11 drop passes, and the next close guy to him is Jamar Chase with 8. But I'll definitely touch on that. But let's go on to that Packers defense led by Micah Parsons, which yesterday we kind of did a rundown on. As a Cowboys fan, where do you stand as far as who we're rooting for in the NFC, so that way we can weasel ourselves into a playoff run or a playoff spot. And we came to determine that Micah Parsons is probably our best route to get into the playoffs with Chicago and Detroit falling apart. That's what we're hopeful for. So let's see. The Packers defense has deployed cloud coverage, which would be cover 2 or cover 6 on 33.8% of their opponent dropbacks this season, the 3rd highest rate in the NFL. Heading into their matchup with the Lions, they will be coming off a game against the Vikings in which they deployed cloud coverage on season high 64% of dropbacks, the highest rate by any defense in a game over the past 2 seasons. JB, E-Rob, does that statement mean anything to you?
I mean, I would say, I think about, you said cover 6,
Yeah,
cloud cover 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we generally play zone defense. We
Which
don't
cover two, right?
tend, yeah, we
That's
don't
man, I
tend
guess.
to blitz. I mean, I don't know. We don't tend to blitz too often on first and second down. We'll blitz on third down when it's zone passing situations. And I wouldn't say it's a cover zero, but it can be pretty close to a cover zero. But if it's, third and 10, third and 15, like sometimes you're just sitting at the sticks, right? And
Yeah.
blitzing, come up, make a tackle versus kind of your true man coverage, I would say, on a play where you can't sit at the sticks. Um, I'm not surprised. I mean, we traded for Parsons. We think our defensive line is good enough to get pressure with four people rushing the passer. So it doesn't surprise me that we sit back in a lot of zone.
Yeah. For sure. Hey, I got a question for you. So Tucker Craft, that's a massive missing piece for you guys, right?
Yep.
So if you guys have him, I think your confidence level is a lot higher with that offense. Obviously, we've seen how much it's changed because he's left. I mean, he wasn't just impactful in the passing game, but the guy was one of those gritty guys that would get his face in a couple blocks as well.
Mm-hmm.
Without Tucker Craft, like we still feel optimistic that this offense can get going, right? Do you feel like it's something like we have to lean on Josh Jacobs, or who has to be the standout figure for that offense in Green Bay for us to get to where we want to get?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, and we have a good backup tight end, now starting tight end, Luke Musgrave, who was actually started. So we drafted Luke and Tucker Craft in the same year. Luke was drafted above Tucker Craft, and so he became the starter for like the whole first rookie season. And then he got injured, and then that's where Tucker Craft came in and kind of showed, that he's a dominant tight end. Tucker Craft blocks a lot better than Luke Musgrave does, and so I think where it really hurts is Josh Jacobs, right? Like we have not found a blocking replacement tight end by any means. I think from a passing perspective, Luke Musgrave, he's a speed guy. He can get downfield on you, so he's good in play action, but he's just not the yak tight end that Kraft was, where you're
That Kraft
throwing
did.
him a 5 yard pass and he's bringing it 25. So it's a give and a take, but I think the one benefit, horrible to lose Kraft, obviously, but the one benefit that we have is the games that we had Kraft, we did not have Watson or Jaden Reed. And now we have Watson the last couple weeks. Jaden Reed, if he doesn't play this, tomorrow, he should play next week. So we're getting two of our top three receivers back from the beginning of the season. Instead of Kraft. Still a tough loss, but I think you start to see more three receiver sets, spread it out. We can still run the ball from those formations, right? But kind of replacing the tight ends with receivers once we get that depth back.
Yeah, Damian, that's tough because it just leaves you to think like, what would they look like if Tucker Craft was still in, Christian Watson coming back healthy? What's going on with Matthew Golden? What's that whole situation? We're
Man,
just not getting him touches. We're not comfortable with him yet. LaFleur don't trust him. Like what? I don't understand.
he's been out the last couple weeks with shoulder and then I think a wrist injury last week. But he's looked good. We just we spread the ball around so much. And I think with getting Watson back, Golden kind of took a step back on the depth chart. Now we'll get Reed back. Gold might take another step back. But I think there's enough opportunities for him to get a couple balls each game.
Yeah.
But we're just not going to be throwing the ball 8, 9, 10 times to a single player in our offense.
Yeah, for sure. Let's look at this that I just looked up for us, Rob. If anybody's questioning the Packers getting into the playoffs, because that is a conversation that's going to start to stir up, especially depending on what the outcome of this game tomorrow is. So let's just see. Packers playoff chances currently they sit at 83% to get in. With the win on Thursday, it's almost guaranteed 94% chance. But if they lose, man, does that drop a whole 20% down to 74% chance? You might also ask, well, can we just win the division outright? Well, let's see. Packers win the division chances. Currently, it's sitting at 51%. With the win on Thursday, it moves up to 72%, but a loss, 31%. Are we still optimistic that this Green Bay Packers team wins the division?
I mean, I'm gonna say yes because we've only played 2 division games and we're 2-0 in the division. I think we can afford to lose tomorrow night and still win the division. We've got to sweep the Bears at that point and beat the Vikings again. If we're 5-1 in the division, I think we probably win the division this year. Um,
Do you feel good about it?
I feel good about it. I mean, I wish that tomorrow night was at Lambeau instead of Detroit, but I feel good about it. I think tomorrow night is more of a must-win game for Detroit than it is for Green Bay. Because if Detroit loses and they're 0-2 against the Packers in the division, and then that puts them at what, 7-5 or 6 and
Yeah, 7-5, 7-5.
7-5.
Yep.
So then they'd be a game behind Green Bay, plus Green Bay would have, the
And
tiebreaker.
only a game ahead against the Dallas Cowboys, which then they turn around and actually play Dallas. So, yeah, I would say, E-Rob, you're right. This is a must-win for the Detroit Lions. It feels like all the pressure is on the Detroit Lions, and a man who just took over play calling in Dan Campbell, which has been a hit or miss. You could say maybe they got a little lucky last week against the New York Giants, and Jamar Gibbs just happened to save their season. But there's a question that's been floating around, and it's that Matt LaFleur was asked if his play calling could be a little more aggressive, and this is what he had to say.
Your offense has struggled to this degree since the first half of 23 when Jordan was first starting out as the starter. And then you told him he had to let it rip, and then you said you had to let it rip as a play caller. With the way defenses are playing you, can you do that and be a little more, I guess, aggressive or whatever it might be to try and get something going, or is that an unrealistic idea?
Yeah, I mean, it takes every facet to open things up, and until we, do a better job, like really in every phase of the game when it comes to offense, it's going to be a struggle. So we got to coach better, we got to play better.
Tell me, but I don't feel like
we got to coach better. We got to play better. This comment from the Noah Boat. He says, repeat yourself week after week because you don't know how to actually make the changes you are talking about. Well, that's a frustrated Packers fan. That comment may have came after a loss, but do you agree with that comment, Jay? I know, E-Rob, you've been a little bit critical about Matt LaFleur's, I don't know if it's aggressive conservativeness, right? How do you feel about Coach LaFleur and the confidence that you have in him being able to get the job done for these boys?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of confidence in LaFleur. I think he's a good coach. He's done nothing but win football games at Green Bay. He's got us to the playoffs the last couple years with Jordan Love.
Brother, that
What?
sigh right before you make your statement, it's kind of hard for me to buy into that.
Well, I mean, okay. So here's what I was going to say, right? Like, I want to answer your question.
Well,
Yes, I have confidence in him, right? But this season so far, like our offense has struggled. We have not been consistent, and I think we have been too conservative with running the ball and not putting it in Jordan Love's hands, especially when we start to get some weapons back, like Watson, hopefully Reed, hopefully Golden. We need to throw the football to open up the run, is what it seems this year, based on the inverse, where Matt LaFleur wants to run the football and everybody talks about run the football to open up the pass. Well, if they're loading the box, like maybe you have to do the opposite. We can't run it into an 8-man box, on first and second down and then have 3rd and 10 and think your quarterback's going to have some rhythm to pick up a first down. Like, it just doesn't work like that. So I think it'll be interesting to see what LaFleur schemes up for quick passes when we know that Detroit's bringing that cover zero man coverage blitz, right? They're bringing one more player than you can block, and that's tough on a quarterback, right? Like you've got to get the ball out quick. If it's a long 3rd down, we've got to have some stuff schemed up, quick passes to hopefully create first downs.
Yeah. Matt LaFleur getting a lot of shots on the shin. I almost feel bad for him because all the guys has done is actually, all he's done is win, right? It's all he's really done. Let's look at a guy. Let's look at a couple things from this Thanksgiving week before we start touching a
Are we
little bit.
moving on from the Packer game?
Yeah, are we ready? Are we ready to make a pick there?
Yeah, hold on. One more thing I'll say on the Packer game that
Let's
is
go.
interesting. I don't know that it's going to matter that much, but just kind of interesting. It's obviously a short week, right? Both teams
Yep.
played on Sunday. Got to turn around on Thursday. Got to get your body right. NFL's tough, but it'll be interesting to see if the Lions come out a little bit fatigued because their game on Sunday went into overtime, right? They had to play extra minutes, all of their starters, versus the Packers had the game in the bag versus the Vikings and started resting people in the fourth quarter on Sunday. So, you can make the argument that somewhere between 1 to 2 quarters of additional playing time for the Lions starters on a short week could have an impact just with soreness and, how many reps you can take in practice before Thursday. So just something to keep your mind on. I mean, it's a big game. Like everybody's playing no matter what, right? Like if you can go, you're going to strap up
Yeah.
the shoulder pads and go.
Yeah, that's actually a good thinking there because now that you mentioned that, it makes me think like the Cowboys played. I mean, I guess the Cowboys and Chiefs played around the same time, right?
Yeah.
And they both had massive comeback wins. So I guess they're both 50-50 in the same spot. But you are right for you guys. And New York making that a tough game for them, they just might have set the Packers up. Like if you just need football being a game of, we always say inches, right? But it always feels like football is a game of like centimeters, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Like games, we've seen where games literally, we've seen a Super Bowl come down to this bit. Poor Tennessee Titan fans, right? This close to winning a Super Bowl, and this might be. I mean, it might not mean much to you, but whenever you start betting, whenever you start thinking of your bets, and you're 50-50, and then this little nugget gets thrown in your head, you're like, well, goddamn, I was really thinking the Detroit Lions had the edge, but he's probably right here. We do got to think about the professional part of football where the next day they got to wake up and rehab their bodies. The next day they may have woken up with a bit of a cold. They're not feeling very, very great. So the recovery didn't start necessarily right after the game, but the following day or on Tuesday. This is something to think about. E-Rob, that's a good little nugget you put out there. But let's talk about a guy that is injured and is coming back. It's Joe Burrow making his debut on Thanksgiving Day. He threw a little little subtle jab. I would say this was what I call an Earl joke. Whenever he compliments you, but then throws a little slide jab at your team.
This was funny. I saw this.
I think just like a lot of kids, you grow up going through Thanksgiving, you have your meals with your family, and then you go and sit on the couch, and typically there's not a lot on, except football. Back in the day, it was Lions and somebody. You go watch Matthew Stafford throw for 300, 400 some yards with Calvin Johnson and probably lose the game, but it was fun to watch. I think just
probably lose the game, but it was fun to watch. At one point, the Detroit Lions did feel like the laughingstock of the NFL when it came to Thanksgiving games. But Detroit, 9 out of 10 times, would ball out. They would ball out, but like he said, most of the time that typically came with a loss attached to it. But it's always fun throwing on the Detroit Lions at 10 a.m. Our time, local time, Mountain Standard Time. That would be 11 o'clock your time. But yeah, throwing them on, and they're typically, or to me, in my household, E-Rob, and you can tell me how yours is, but typically that Lions game is normally background noise for me, kind of helping my wife a little bit prepare for Thanksgiving when we're hosting it. For you, what is the Detroit Lions? What most of the time it's you guys, right?
Yeah, I would say like 50% of the time we play the Lions on Thanksgiving, if not a little bit more than 50. So
do you enjoy your team playing on Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
Yes, unless they lose. Like if they lose, it's like damn.
If they lose, it's a tough dinner. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, we want to win, but like whenever you saw, obviously you knew I mean, you probably had a good feeling. Like if you do play on Thanksgiving, it's going to be against the Detroit Lions. So you automatically, it's like, damn, this one's going to be a tough game. So initially, when you saw this on the schedule on Thanksgiving, what was your reaction to that schedule drop?
Yeah, I mean, I would prefer to not play the Lions on Thanksgiving. I'd rather, play the Commanders or somebody like that at home on Thanksgiving.
No disrespect to them, but
Yeah,
yep,
no
I get what you're
disrespect.
saying.
But the Lions are tough on Thanksgiving. It's like the one game every year that they decide, like, hey, maybe we can play football. And every year before the last, like, 3 years when they became good, right? Like, we're talking about the Stafford days where, they're
Yeah,
putting
like he
back.
said, throwing for 300 yards, Calvin
Right.
Johnson.
Exactly.
And
But
then,
it's
and
always
then
a division rival, right? Like I'm tuned in for that game regardless of if the Packers are playing or somebody else against the Lions.
yeah, I'm pumped. I'm so pumped for this year's Thanksgiving game. I'm actually looking forward to watching this at 10 a.m. And just to remind you guys, we will have a Thanksgiving special tomorrow. We'll go live at 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. That's 9 a.m. my time in the mountains. E-Rob, that's you. 10 a.m. And then it'll be a 45-minute show just covering the Cowboys and a little bit of Detroit Lions. JB will be joining me from San Francisco, California, where he is visiting his madre. So safe travels to him as he heads in that direction today. But last thing before I let you go, E-Rob, Baltimore and Mr. Joe Burrow, who we just had, it seems like the Bengals still have an opportunity to get into the playoffs. They got to win out, and they definitely got to start by beating this Baltimore team, who is in their division. How do you feel about the Bengals sneaking into the playoffs?
I don't.
You don't like it?
Nah. I don't think they're getting in. I mean, they need to win tonight. They need
Tomorrow.
or tomorrow, yeah. They need a lot of help. They pretty much they have to win out and they need help. They're too far behind. If they played the Ravens and the Steelers both twice still, then maybe there's more of a chance, right?
What
But
is their schedule?
they've already played the Steelers, and I think they've already played the Ravens once, maybe. So
They got them twice. So it goes
they got the
Ravens,
Ravens
Bills, Ravens, Dolphins, Cardinals, Browns.
yeah,
Let me say that for you one more time. The remaining schedule for the Cincinnati Bengals, who are sitting at 8 losses, so they have no room for error whatsoever. They got to win out. You got the Ravens tomorrow. Then they go to Buffalo. Then they play the Ravens at home. Dolphins, Cardinals, Browns. They
that's a
can't
tough
lose one
schedule.
game. That's
No.
tough. Beating Baltimore twice alone
And I
seems like
don't
a
think
tough
they
task.
I don't think they win tomorrow. Like it's Burrow's first game back. Their defense is still horrible. I expect a shootout, but at the end of the day, Burrow's still gonna have to find a rhythm with some receivers, right? Like he'll have some with Chase and those guys, but like he's been out for what 6-8 weeks, and I think Higgins is out. So I like the Ravens at home, and I think that pretty much puts the nail in the coffin on the Bengals season.
And with that being said, if they do lose, do you bench Burrow for the rest of the season and rest him, or do you still let him play with what we've
If he's
seen from
healthy,
that
you let him
offensive
play.
line?
I want to
Yeah,
see what that team. If he's fully healthy, yeah. Why would you? Why not?
I mean, I don't know. Do you like legitimately? Would you risk it with no playoff implications whatsoever? You're just going out there to spoil somebody's day. Do
Yeah, I
you
would.
put like that's a legitimate question? If they lose with no playoff implications, with a guy that we could now say, I think, right? I think we're in the third year where he's had some type of injury. We can say Joe Burrow is injury prone at this point, right? So with that, do you play Joe Burrow for the rest of the season if they lose and they have zero playoff implications? Like that's a legit question, right?
As a Jamar Chase fantasy football owner, they play Joe Burrow, please, for
Joe
the
Burrow,
rest of the
please.
season.
For us fantasy owners, please, win or lose, we need you to be a dog. That hell yeah, man. Well, E-Rob, before I let you go, is there anything else you would like to say? I guess your last thing as you exit, you can give me your prediction for the Cowboys Chiefs game. But is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I'll give you a prediction. I think that's it.
That's
Um,
it. Who's winning?
I'm gonna take the Chiefs. I think it's gonna be
Why?
because I think that the Chiefs defense is going to be tough for you guys. I don't think you'll be able to block Chris Jones in the interior. Um, and then I think once you guys start to get frustrated, like if you can't move the sticks, if you get down 21 points like you did, you're not stopping Mahomes for a
Yeah.
whole half. And so, I mean, I think ultimately the other thing that sucks for Dallas is this has become a Chiefs must-win game as well. Like they're
Yeah,
6-5. They're in the 10 slot, I think, 9 or 10 slot in the AFC playoff picture. Like this is a must-win game. And Andy Reid is so creative. Like he's gonna have some tricks in the bag. That offense is explosive. I expect a shootout. I think it'll be very close. It could be whoever gets the ball last. But I'm just nervous about a slow start for Dallas offensively, like you had last week, against a defense that I feel like is pretty similar to Philly. Steve Spagnuolo, can't believe he's still a defensive coordinator. I wish somebody would hire him away from the Chiefs. He's phenomenal. But I think at the end of the day, I trust the Chiefs defense to get one stop more than I trust Dallas's defense to get one stop.
Yeah.
But I'm
Hey,
talking like probably a 3-point game. Like I think it's going to be a close shootout.
damn, where's this? Where is this? I had a. Well, I guess I don't have it anymore. But you know how yesterday I told you I really wanted you to go back and watch that game because so 21-0 going in. I think it was like maybe 3 minutes left before half when Dallas goes down and scores. But going into half, Dak and Jalen Hurts had similar stats. I believe Dak was like 9 for 12 or something like that with 115 yards, like or 150 yards going into the half. I don't like Dallas didn't have an issue moving the ball down the field against Philly. Dallas's issue is being able to finish drives in the red zone. That's where we're at right now. So it's not. I'm not scared that we're not going to be that we're going to come out to a slow start or moving the ball being an issue. My thing is Dallas. This game comes down to whether or not Dallas can finish in the red zone because we're going to get there. We're gonna
Totally. I
get.
mean,
I think we get there 4 or 5
for
times.
sure.
Can they finish? We can't win with Brandon Aubrey kicking field goals in this game. We can lose one game, and so can Kansas City. So it's not necessarily make or break, but it's definitely going to make life easier. I thought you were going to be on the side. I thought you already had jumped on the Dallas Cowboys bandwagon, especially after our conversation when we broke down how we're going to get into the playoffs and whatnot. So I thought that you would want the momentum of the Dallas Cowboys winning on Thanksgiving against the Kansas City Chiefs to follow that into
No,
Detroit.
I want you guys to be in a must-win game next week where you blow the brakes off of Detroit.
Gotcha. Okay.
I don't want you
That's
to be
what
able to say, "Oh, we beat the Chiefs. Now we can drop this game at Detroit." I want your back against the wall going into Detroit and you beat them 45-0.
Yeah. All right. Well, it would be better for us if the Cowboys can just go ahead and get this win on Thanksgiving, and it would really make my food be
better.
able to be more digestible. Yeah, that's for sure. But hell yeah, E-Rob, I appreciate you joining me. Last thing, what's your favorite Thanksgiving dish?
Sweet potato casserole.
Oh yes, that's so. It's really more of a dessert, right?
Oh yeah,
But
oh yeah.
you
With the
just
brown
mix it in with
sugar and
everything else.
almonds or whatever on the top of it, phenomenal. 10 out of 10.
I told Adri the first time I tried that was when I went to your house, and I think your aunt made it. Oh, it was the best thing ever. So Adri made it about 3 years ago, I think, and ever since then, it's like,
It's a
white,
staple. It's a
yeah,
staple.
white folks, bro. Shout out white folks for sweet potato pie or sweet potato casserole. I guess that's what we would call it, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
All right,
shout
bro.
out
I
to-
got to drop.
I appreciate you, ladies and gentlemen. Packer enthusiast, Earl
Go Pack,
Robinson.
go.
Go Pack, go. Well, Jay, that was a good little chat. It seemed like as Earl got comfortable through the conversation, he started to feel a little more confident about the Green Bay Packers. That sigh was massive, though, whenever I asked him about his confidence level for Matt LaFleur. The way he started it was like, well, yeah, I do have confidence. That big sigh right before, it's like, that was a little tough. That was a little tough for me to just feel comfortable about him feeling comfortable about the Green Bay Packers. But this criticism on Ceedee Lamb was crazy. Whenever I posted this video, and this is what I had to say. Let's see. Let me play the audio for you guys real quick. Hold on, give me 1 second. Let me pull it up. Pull it up. So yesterday there was a high level of criticism, which I'm there for the criticism. I do think Ceedee Lamb should be criticized for him leading the league in drop passes, and not only that, but maybe one of the most crucial ones. But at the end of the day, they did get the victory. So I think with them getting the victory, it does change a little. It should change a little bit of our perspective on how we look at it. But my biggest issue with the criticism on Ceedee Lamb is that it wasn't constructive criticism. It was more of the blame game. It was like from 105 or 105.3 the fan, or 105.2, one of those, but it's the Dallas Cowboys radio station, one of their own, and they decided to wake up on Tuesday with a little bit of violence, or on Monday I believe it was, with a little bit of violence, and they chose to backstab CD, a guy that they had on their show there in the offseason, as he tells us in the video, in the offseason in Oxnard. And then they turn around right away, and as soon as CD Lamb has a bad game, it's like, this guy stinks. Is this guy even wide receiver one? Should we get rid of him? Like, it's that kind of shade being thrown at Ceedee Lamb, where I'm just like, come on, man. Like, this guy has done nothing but ball out for us time after time. Last year he played when Dak wasn't even there, and he was balling out. He was injured, playing with that shoulder injury, and he was still grinding for us, putting up 100 plus yards. And then this is how we repay him back. There's a difference between criticism and constructive criticism, and there's a difference between talking ish and explaining a situation. And I get it. We got to get the clicks. I understand. They got me because I didn't go in and listen to the whole hour show. I was so pissed. I just watched that same clip like 3 or 4 times just to get my blood boiling, so that way I can feel this. I can deliver it with the same energy that they were delivering for Ceedee Lamb. But this is what I had to say yesterday, right?
Bro, where is all this hate for Ceedee Lamb coming from? Like, 105.3 The Fan, come on, man. We're trying to make a generational run right now to the playoffs, and you guys are bringing negativity to the organization? Like,
come on, we got to do better. And then Jerry Jones, they interviewed him yesterday, and they asked him how he felt about Ceedee Lamb's drop. This is what he had to say.
Gary, coming off of the Monday night game, Ceedee Lamb obviously missed the first series due to some discipline issues. Then on Sunday, he had a number of drops against the Philadelphia Eagles.
Which, let me pause that right there. A part of this comes because of the week before. So I get it. The boys were out having fun, and they shouldn't have been, right? So they got disciplined for it, didn't get to start against the Las Vegas Raiders. But then Ceedee Lamb balls out. And at that time, prisoners of the moment, the way we judge that, or the way them boys judge that, was like, which was constructive, is like, hey, you can't be doing that, but appreciate you balling out, right? So I get where the criticism is coming from, especially from a week before, whenever he's already getting disciplined for some off the field action. So it's like, Ceedee Lamb, buckle up. And here in a second, we're going to hear his response to this criticism. But let's finish this Jerry Jones convo.
I've said it. Gary, coming off of the Monday night game, Ceedee Lamb obviously missed the first series due to some discipline issues. Then on Sunday, he had a number of drops against the Philadelphia Eagles. How comfortable are you that Ceedee Lamb is locked in down the stretch?
I'm fine with him in any aspect. He's was proven when he got here with his great career at Oklahoma, but he's proven with what he's done since he's been here. And certainly he's the first one to be frustrated over those drops that we're alluding to. But if there's ever been a player that you can look at the whole package and you can look at go past those drops real easy when you look at what he's done, and then you look at what he is. I don't know if you noticed it, but I saw him really competing there as we were in that second half Sunday. I saw it looked like to the eyes you could just see his motor go up. Now he can catch a football, make no mistake about it, so we're not going to worry about that. Gary,
we're not going to worry about that. We saw the look in his eye. We've seen Ceedee Lamb bounce back time after time after time. Actually, right before we listen to this interview, let me just give you a couple numbers on what Ceedee Lamb has done after having a game with multiple drops. Let me pull this up for you guys real quick. Let's read this together. All right, no multiple drop games, 2+ drops, and an immediate bounce back. So we'll start off with We'll start off with this year. In week 1, Ceedee Lamb had 4 drop passes. Guys, let me mind you this: Ceedee Lamb had 4 drop passes in week 1, right? And then he had 3 this past weekend, right, against the Eagles again. So I get where the level of frustration is coming from. I am frustrated about it. I just think we got to watch our angle. But let's see. Week 1, 4 drops, 7 receptions, 13 targets, 110 yards still, right? But in week 2, bounce back against the Giants. And I know what you're saying. You're like, bro, it was a bounce back against the Giants. Yeah, but it's still a bounce back. Take it for what you will. 9 reception, 11 targets, 112 yards. Back in 2024, week 13, on Thanksgiving, 3 drops, 2 receptions, 6 targets, only 39 yards. Only 39 yards. And then he bounces back week 14 against Cincinnati. Joe Burrow led Cincinnati, 6 receptions, 7 targets, 93 yards, and a touchdown. You tell me if that's good. You tell me if that's good. And then now we got week 12. Last week, 3 drops, 4 for 11, 75 yards. And if this aligns with the patterns that we've gotten from Ceedee Lamb, what does that tell you? What does that tell you, boys and lads? What does that tell you? We may be setting ourselves up, but we got to be optimistic right now. We have to give nothing but support to this team. Because Jerry Jones was just a week late on making the moves, but he made the right moves. As of right now, we're looking at that trade with Michael Parsons, and we're thinking like, man, Jerry Jones is pretty good. He's pretty good. He kept telling us, be patient, and I get it. You could say, hey, it was the Raiders. Chill out. Okay, I'll chill out there. Then you can also go and say, hey, it was a divisional game. We got to relax. They got to show me against the Chiefs. Okay, we will see, TBD. But going into this week, it feels real good. It feels great. It feels like Jerry Jones rolled up his sleeve. I don't know if he's ever had a hard cap on. Well, he probably has, because I believe he found another pot of oil, another pot of gold, right? So at some point he goes to those oil sites, probably puts on a hard hat, makes himself feel like a blue collar boy. But I feel pretty good about this Thanksgiving game, bro. I feel pretty good. But let's listen to the Ceedee Lamb interview and let's react to it.
Quote that look in your eye, coming off of the struggles you had against the Eagles. Last time you had the look in the eye, week 2, you went for over 100 yards against the Giants. What does the quote-unquote look in your eye mean mentally from your perspective?
I just got to lock in on my fundamentals, man. It ain't really too much going on as far as catching the ball. It's not really anybody in my way. I'm the only one guarding myself, I feel like. So, yeah, we're gonna fix that.
What's the easiest way to kind of, quote-unquote, get out of your head if you're kind of overthinking?
Just lock in, be myself, do what got me here. I'm in this position for a reason, and I know I'm ready for it.
Do you believe you've been overthinking, or how do you explain it?
It's really just lack of focus on my end, honestly, just thinking of doing 2 before 1, and there's been plenty of that going on.
A lack of focus on his end, thinking about doing 2 before he does 1. And if we go back to that drop pass against Philly and you watch it, right? He starts on the left, he comes across the field, and Dak needles it through. One defender's trailing him. Cornerback off the right side is coming in to make a play on the ball. Dak threads it through. Threads it through a needle. Some would say a dime. Beautiful pass from Dak. But if you watch it, Jay, I don't know if we have the video, do we? If we have the video of that play, I believe we do. I hope so. But even if we don't, right? Take yourself to that play. Ceedee Lamb in the 4th quarter with, I believe, like 3 minutes left, right? So he brings himself across the field. Boom, across the middle. And then he's already thinking about, as he says in that statement, he's not lying to us. After he drops the pass, immediately he points to the corner But the way that people are describing it, you would have think that he would have lost his mind. I went back and watched it. All Ceedee Lamb does as soon as he drops it, he's like, bro, if you hit me in the corner, it's an easier pass or it's an easier grab. And if you go back and watch the film or watch the all 22, if Dak just lays that in the corner, which is what Dak would typically do, he would lead his receiver. And it's probably easier touchdown. So how I was just talking about E-Rob, how this game seems to be a game of inches, but we actually have to narrow it down more because it's a game of centimeters. And that's exactly what happened. Ceedee Lamb in his head's like, it's a gimme. I'm catching this in the corner. Maybe have to do a slight toe drag. But instead, it's got to be a quick reaction from going here to boom, because Dak just threaded a needle whenever he had a wide open shot to the corner of the end zone. And I'm not saying that's not nothing on Dak. Dak did what was available to him in that moment. Maybe Dak didn't see it in the corner. Maybe Dak felt like that corner could have just dropped backpedaled and gotten a pick if he put it there. So he decided to thread the needle. Should Ceedee Lamb have caught that ball? Absolutely. Now, should we criticize him for dropping that? Yes. But it's the antics after that's being overjudged. What, we're not allowed to be frustrated anymore? We're not allowed to be mad at ourselves and express it out loud? Because the way that it's being taken, at least the way the media is spinning it, it's like Ceedee Lamb turned his back on Dak Prescott or something. Ceedee Lamb, like, the one that gets me the most is Ceedee Lamb is jealous of George Pickens' success. That is the laziest take you could have. What goes to show, what has been shown from this guy that makes you think he's jealous of George Pickens? Mind you, Ceedee Lamb's already got the bag, brother. What's there to be jealous about? At the end of the day, you do this to set yourself and your family up for generations. And your take is he's jealous. He might be jealous of George Pickens. You know, and that's very fitting for that show. Because look at them. Look at them. And you tell me how you would think I would come to the conclusion that that's just a lazy take. That's a lazy take. He picked that up. He picked up that take as he was grabbing his burger from the refrigerator from the night before. That's what that was. We can call this guy a fake leader for expressing himself. Do we not remember how Dez Bryant used to express himself? Do we not remember? And those are divas, sure. So that might be a little bit extreme, or those are categorized as a diva player, right? Dez or Terrell Owens, right? But we're so used to Dak or Ceedee Lamb being so calm and collective that when he has a bad game, he can't be mad at himself. And anytime he has any type of reaction, immediately people are going to think, "Oh wow, he's jealous. He's jealous of George Pickens' success." Miss me with that one. But let's continue to listen here.
And by that I mean I'm thinking about my next move before catching the ball and things of that nature. It's not really much on anybody else but myself, and I've never been the type to really point the finger. But yeah, it's all on me, and I got to handle that.
You got to handle that. That sounded like some self-accountability for me right there. It's nobody else but me. Feels like self-accountability to me right there.
Angry or disappointed?
Did someone? Oh, what the? We got an ad. Hold on, let's get through this ad real quick. Yeah, that's crazy though. I don't get it. I honestly, I really don't get it. But here, let's get back to it.
Angry or disappointed in your performance on Sunday?
Disappointed in myself for the most part, obviously, because they called my number more. And at the end of the day, that's all I can ask for. Once I see the ball come my way and nobody's and nobody's harm but mine to catch the ball, you know. And I'm a firm believer in that. And I know me, and I know the player I am. And yeah, I'll be all right.
Shotty said you're as healthy as you've been. Do you feel?
Yeah, I'm cool.
Him smiling and saying, "Yeah, I'll be all right." That's rage bait right there. That's rage bait. But that's just a person that's confident that this won't happen again. And because of that, we shouldn't be either. The fact that it happened twice in one season against Philly makes me feel even more confident that we're not going to see this again. And what better way to bounce back than on Thanksgiving?
Cool, man. I'm back. I'm cool. I'm regular. I'm 100.
What's the significance to you, even though you got a lot of belief in your own ability, to just hear Shotty say, he's one of the best in the league. We're going to throw it to him. The ball's going to 88 a lot against the Chiefs. So be ready.
That's on the Chiefs to stop it. And again, it's on myself to put myself in the best position to get the ball and do what I do with it. And as far as for Shotty, just call my number. I'm always out there. I'm always available for him. For Dak, build that confidence. Let's get to it.
What are those conversations like with Dak when you go through kind of a little stretch like you're going through right now?
You just find ways to get better. You want to be solution oriented and not really much dwell on the problem. Granted, we know the problem. I need to catch the ball, but other than that, man, we'll be fine. When I do catch it, just be ready.
What do you think about the opportunity you guys have created for yourselves here, having won 2 in a row?
It's exciting, man. Everything that we planned for coming off the bye, as a team, we're building that unity, we're building that togetherness, that brotherhood, and I feel like we're starting to click. And once we get to continuing to do that as we go on the stretch that we want to, I feel like it's going to be fun. It's going to be worth it.
What's the challenge as a team coming off of an emotional high like the one that you guys got in the win over the Eagles, but so quickly to have to turn around and come back down to earth because you have the Chiefs coming in 4 days after that?
Let's see if we could do it again. It don't matter what day it is. It's about, I think this is part of the professionalism that is not being spoken about. Just playing on Sunday, then having to get your body back right, get the game plan, install, walkthroughs, and then be ready to act it out again on Thursday or on game day. So
that statement by Ceedee right there kind of confirms what Earl was saying, right, about the Detroit Lions Green Bay Packers game. There is a level of professionalism that goes into the recovery process, and if you have a couple extra hours and you're doing the same thing, right, similar athletes, similar recovery, one has more time than the other, you would give the edge to the player who got the most, right?
It's going to be fun. It's going to be a nice challenge. I feel like we've done this countless of times in my career, 6 times maybe. I feel like I'm immune to it, just getting the guys ready, getting our bodies back, and being as explosive as we can.
Because it was such an emotional game against the Eagles, and perhaps it took a while for you guys to settle down offensively, do you think it'll be easier to get to that settle down point on Thursday because you just went through that? Absolutely.
I feel like at the beginning of the Eagles games, there was a lot of self-inflicted wounds. And then again, I had a couple of drops at the beginning of the game. So, those are easy fixes. I feel like those are things that can be very manageable and held to a minimum,
What's it like seeing George right now, a back-to-back 140-yard game?
He needs to go get another one. I'm a fan of it, man. I'm a fan of it. I've done it. I know he can do it again, and I know he will. And he's doing it with flying colors, man. I'm proud of him.
What are the opportunities and challenges against the Chiefs secondary?
Say that again?
What are the opportunities and challenges of playing against the Chiefs secondary?
The difficulty in the back end. They do a lot of disguising. They're really good at it. Shout out Andy and the D coordinator for really just getting those guys in tune. They're not really old, but they you can tell they're very comfortable in that system. And, they do it well. They got a nice DB in Trent. Excited for the matchup, and we're going to see how that goes.
Does a quick turnaround help after a game like that for you to get back on the field?
This is not even about me, man. It's about us getting this win. I know what I'm going to do. We just need to get this win. That's it. Cool. Appreciate y'all.
I couldn't have been any more clear. And I appreciate Ceedee Lamb taking accountability. And most importantly, through that entire interview, I know he didn't get asked a question about the criticism that was coming his way, But at this point in 2025, they see it. Like, athletes see these things, right? I mean, we would almost be it would be dumb of us for us to think that they didn't, right? And the fact that he didn't even critique that whatsoever lets me know he's already moved on. He's already focused. He's already locked in on Thursday. And like you said, he's not worried about himself. He's just worried about going out there and getting this win as a team. Because he knows what he's capable of doing. And we should feel the same way. That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying is that the criticism that comes his way right now should be constructive. We shouldn't be trying to turn this team against one another. And when I say we, I'm putting myself in the bundle of that media that covers the Dallas Cowboys. Because when you're local, and I know you got to be a prisoner of the moment. It's a radio show. It's a daily show. You're reacting to what most of the time you're reacting. You really don't even get context behind most of the stuff that they say. If you listen to their statement on 105.3 The Fan, he actually ends up ending that interview with, not sure. He heard it from someone that Ceedee Lamb didn't want to get interviewed after game because of didn't really clarify on what the reasoning was. But he ends it with, if that is actually true, and I'm paraphrasing, but it's somewhere along those lines. And if you have to, it's crazy to me that that's the age that we're in right now, is that we're so quick to want to be first to everything that we don't care what the context behind anything or what the facts are behind anything. Because we get bailed out by just going allegedly, right? Or how he says, because now he can come back and turn around and be like, well, I was given misinformation. But it's like, damn, you had a whole conclusion without any facts. You just went on a spin there, which is easy to do. We do it. I do it. But I'm just a little show. So I don't have to necessarily worry about being worried about being criticized fully like these guys are right now. But I'm okay with it. Because what you say into a microphone, you should be able to back up. You should be able to back up. Those thoughts came through the brain for a reason. They came out this mouth for a reason. So you should be able to back it up. And all I'm saying is that we don't need to be overreacting to these Ceedee Lamb drops this year. We don't. Relax, chill, and be ready for this Thanksgiving game that's about to happen. That's all I'm saying. Now let me respond to one more thing here before I let you guys go off to work. I appreciate you guys rocking with me this morning. Don't forget, tomorrow we will have a show. It'll be at 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. JB will be joining me tomorrow while we talk right before kickoff. We're going to be competing with a couple of shows, but I hope that you guys join us to have a little bit of fun right before the Thanksgiving festivities. But yesterday I made a statement about Ohio State and Michigan. I asked him, do you think that teams will eventually begin to sit out players regardless of rivalries at the end of the season? Basically asking him about Ohio State and Michigan, because that game for people in that area sometimes means more than winning a national championship. And this question was raised because Dave Portnoy from Barstool was asked, would you rather be Ohio State or Michigan last year when Michigan beats Ohio State, but Ohio State then bounces back and wins a national championship? And Dave Portnoy said he'd rather have been Michigan. He'd rather have been Ohio State. Some people call him a loser mentality. And in the comments, I got a little bit shredded in the comments. There was one that I saw that I replied to where he said, rest players versus UX, which UX is University of Michigan. It sounds like this is an Ohio State boy. And he put the X over M, which is what Tim told us yesterday, is that people take time of their day, and anytime they see an M, they go slap a red X on it. But he said, rest players versus UX, really? Bro, Rutgers was the rest game. How was that not noticeable from the beginning? And I then replied, I'm only asking because of college. Because if college stays how it's going with NIL, it feels like the rivalries will lose their sauce. If they already have a guarantee into the playoffs, similar to the NFL in the final week, it's not unusual for teams to rest players, regardless if it's a divisional game and if it doesn't influence their playoff position. I think that you guys would agree with my statement there. And that is a legitimate question, in my opinion. Will at some point, because the way the trajectory of college football is starting to lean towards a semi-pro league, which is going to end up being played out like the NFL, right? We went from 4 teams to 12 teams in the playoffs. So whenever you kind of pull back and get away from those rivalries and not be emotional about it, you ask yourself, is there going to come a time where Ohio State would rather rest their players because they don't care about the result to Michigan if it has zero implications? We see it in the NFL over and over. That's why people's fantasy football leagues end in week 17 instead of week 18. And in the past, it would end on week 16 instead of week 17. And you ask, why does that happen? Well, it's because teams who've already stamped their spots in the playoffs decide to rest players to prepare them for the playoff season. So you mean to tell me that wasn't the only one? I got about three or four with kind of similar answers, and it was emotional. It's emotional. They're like, "How dare you?" Right? How dare you think that we would rest players? Which I get it. I don't want anybody to rest players. I wouldn't want them to. Just like how we said about Joe Burrow. Like if you're a fantasy owner of Jamar Chase, you wouldn't be happy if a healthy Joe Burrow, if they decide to sit him for the rest of the season for the sake of keeping him healthy and getting him prepared for next year. Yeah, I would have a level of frustration for that. So that's all I'm asking. And you guys tell me in the comments, would you agree with me that eventually there's going to come a point where the rivalries lose their sauce and teams rest players like Ohio State against Michigan right now if it has no implications on their playoff spots? I feel like that's valid. And it's going to be funny. It's going to be funny because, or to me, it's funny because it's like how Dallas just beat the Eagles and the Eagles' response immediately was like, oh, that was y'all's Super Bowl. Now imagine that's week 17, right? Let's say this is week 17. Philly already won the division and is already number 2 seed or whatever seed they are. And if they played the Cowboys week 18, I guarantee you Nick Sirianni could give a ish less about Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown going out there. I guarantee you they could care less about that final game against their divisional opponents if they already have a playoff spot secured. If anything, those guys play a half. If anything, those guys play a half, and that's it. But let's wrap it up, boys. I appreciate girls and boys. I appreciate you guys rocking with me, waking up, getting ready with me, and throwing on this beautiful show. Thanks to E-Rob for joining me this morning and giving us his takes on the Packers-Lions game. It was a good segment there. E-Rob, I appreciate you for those stats and facts. Tomorrow we'll be back at 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Me and JB will have a Thanksgiving special. The calm before the storm. And then on Friday, if you didn't know already, there's NFL football on Friday midday. This has been happening for about 2 years, but sometimes it gets lost in the sauce because the games have stunk. The matchups have stunk because the matchups had no implications for the playoffs, but this one does. This one's massive. And what's crazy is it's 3:00 start time, just middle of the day. Here you go. Football is like, none of y'all work on Black Friday. Let's just throw this sucker on at 3:00 and just assume that you're going to either get out of work or you're going to call in. I don't know very many people that are just going to watch a football game at 3 o'clock. I mean, I am. Don't get me wrong. I know quite a bit of people that are. Now, the setting of where they're going to be watching that game, that's what comes into question. I'm going to assume that there's going to be a lot of folks sitting at their office with 2 screens, 1 screen game, 1 screen work, right? That's what I'm thinking is going to happen. Fortunately for me and one of our followers, friend of the show, Mr. Santiago, will probably be doing the same thing, and we'll be able to hopefully enjoy this game from our couches. And that'll be the Chicago Bears against the Philadelphia Eagles. And boy, I really don't know where to lean there. But I think we're Philly fans on Friday. But we don't know exactly who we're rooting for the remaining of the 5 games of the season until after the results of Thursday and Friday, depending on whether the Packers win and Philly or Chicago win. Because you know what would be interesting if Chicago wins, and the Eagles, what if they go on a downfall? What if, don't kill me here, but what if the Cowboys somehow won the division? That would be nuts. And that's the last crazy thing I'll say for today. I appreciate you guys rocking with me. Don't forget, be a friend. Tell a friend something nice. It might change their life. Shout out PMS. Let's have a day. See ya.
Everybody trying to be content creators.